episode of 1v1, the Creator Interview Series, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support this show and the Boss Rush Media family of podcasts, head over to patreon.com/bossrushmedia or search for us on the Patreon app on your smart device. Thanks for helping us build something better.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 1v1 podcast under the Boss Rush Network. I am not Celeste Roberts. I am your host, Stephanie Klimov. You might see my alter name on the website, bossrush.net, as the Mad Pharmacist. I am part of the Boss Rush flagship podcast, and I have the absolute pleasure of interviewing Guillaume Jamet, the VP Head of Publishing of Dear Villagers. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for your invite, Stephanie. I'm very pleased to be here tonight.
Yeah, so just a little backstory for our listeners. I attended PAX East. This is my second time at PAX East. Last year I went as a regular guest for one day. One day definitely isn't enough. But this year, bossrush.net, we were able to get media passes. So I represented as press for all 4 days. And we were looking to interview lots of developers, publishers, and I happened to miss you there at PAX, so we're just doing a bit of a follow-up, get to learn about Dear Villagers and the games that you guys publish. So just to kind of kick things off before we talk about you, I just love to know your experience at PAX, not to kind of shake the question list up already, but have you been to PAX before? How was this experience for you? And what do you generally do behind the scenes for events like these?
Well, for a publisher like us, I would say like a middle-sized publisher, events like this is a lot of work prior to the event. So my team has been working for that maybe 5 to 6 months before PAX. So we get time to discuss what we will do, optimize the budget. We don't have any extensive budget, so we make sure to pay everything at the appropriate price, and we try to motivate our partner studios so they make nice demo for the show. So that's a lot of work prior to the event for us, but also for our partner studio to make sure that when we arrive to PAX, we have a nice booth, we have a nice demo, and people are happy to find out about your games and coming here. And we are based in France, so that's a full journey to go to PAX in Boston. So yeah, that's a big event for us, and I've been very happy with that 2023 PAX. We had the biggest booth we had ever at PAX, so it was a nice one. We have our two labels showcasing games, so yeah, it was a very nice experience. There's been queue to our games all weekend and all week actually, so we are very happy of what we've shown and the feedback. And we had a very nice conference with the voice actor from For Solis on Saturday. Well, it's a big experience that we had at PAX.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I loved your guys' booth, and I'm glad that you mentioned all the hard work that goes into it because unless you're in the industry putting up these booths, we don't know how much hard work it requires, including setting up a demo. Oops. Oops, are you there? That was probably me. I apologize.
You went offline at some point. It's okay.
Hopefully that won't be a problem. But no, I just want to acknowledge all the hard work that goes into setting up the booths. I'm not sure if you know much about what does it take to get a game ready for demo. I just a list of some of the games that you guys had for demo. I believe was Born of Bread, Nocturnal, Fort Solace, of course, and you're one of the games that you've announced and debuted there, which was Passing By.
Yeah. So yeah, we for all those games are very different scenarios because Passing By is a very small young team, so it was their first event like that, the first demo for an event. Born of Blood is a two-people team, very small and young too. For Solis is obviously more senior developers. So I would say it was tricky for each of them because when you go to a show like PAX, you know that people will have 10, 15 minutes to play your games. So you have to make sure that you give them the best short experience of your game. And that's actually quite hard because, well, most of our developers, they try to put as much as possible, but you cannot put everything in 15 to 20 minutes. So you have to make choice. You have to agree that you will not showcase all of your games in 15 minutes. So it's all about editorial choice that we have to make with them. So we discuss that with the studio. Basically, we don't create a demo especially for the show. We just pick a part of a game that length is around 20 minutes. And so there is a lot of discussion between us as a studio. Okay, what are currently in development the best 20 minutes of the game that we can showcase? So that can be sometimes be hard for some younger studio to to be thrown in public like that for the first time. So some of them was going to a show for the first time. It was very intimidating for some of them. Yeah, I'm an old guy, so I'm used to go to the shows. But for your or young developer, it can be intimidating. And but when I saw their faces, most of them they're looking at people playing the games. Some of our like the Born of Blood team, they've been working for almost 2 years now from home. Uh, and that was the first time they saw people play their game live in public,
Mm.
and it was very satisfying and emotional for everyone. And the public liked the game, so it's even more, because you have this risk. You showcase your game for the first time and people don't like it. It's very hard to leave, but hopefully, and I'm very glad people love the game we show at PAX. So we had very satisfied developers coming back from PAX, which is always our main concern. We want to make sure
Mhm.
the teams we are working with are happy, and we are called Dear Villagers, and that we are trying to be a comforting publisher for our studio. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's important at PAX, like in other shows, that it's the best possible experience for our developers too.
Mhm. Oh yeah, couldn't even imagine trying to pick out the right part of a game to demo. So I got to demo Passing By and Fort Solace. I want to demo them all, but those were the two. Like if I had to pick my top that I wanted to see, two completely different games, by the way. But we'll get into that later. I really enjoyed that experience of being walked into this like miniature closed off area with Stephanie to play Fort Solace. It really set the mood. I know that part, like I have a feeling you guys chose that section of Fort Solace as to not spoil kind of the tension and like what's going to be around the corner. But I get scared easily, so I was moving very slowly. I thought something was going to jump out at me. Um, but yeah, so I just wanted to share my experience. I think as someone who demos or plays the game, I think my bigger fear is when developers or just anyone working for the company is watching me play because I'm always nervous that I'm not doing a good job.
I'm sure you did great.
But yeah, I got a bit ahead of myself talking about PAX. I'm still riding that high, but I do want to start off learning about you specifically. I know we'll talk about Dear Villagers and your partners, but if you can give me like a history about you in the gaming industry, what kind of got you passionate about wanting to publish games and this company?
Well, my journey is, I think it's kind of classic, I guess. Well, I've been in the industry my whole adult life, to be honest. I think as many, I turned into video games because I was playing too much of it. So I told myself at some point, okay, why not make a living out of that? So
Yeah.
I made some political science studies back in France. So not at all what you can imagine, but I was trying to be a journalist back at the time, and I had the opportunity to work as a freelance journalist for a few video game magazines in France. So that's how it started. I was failing at finding enough contracts, so I started my own website back in early 2020s, 20,000, I don't know.
Hmm.
So 2001, I think, I started a blog about MMORPG in French, and it became one of the reference in France for MMORPGs.
Hmm.
So I got to grow like that a website and start also working for several medias too in France. So I started as a journalist. I started that small media company with several websites. We got bought by another bigger media. I left, and I like to say that the moment, like around 2009, I turned to the dark side of marketing. I joined a PR company. That's kind of the classic journey. You start as a journalist, and you join a PR or marketing company. I think many of my fellow journalist friends make the same trip. So I turned to the dark side in 2009 and joined a PR company. And one thing led to another. I grew some expertise in marketing and for video games. Another company of my own when I was creating events, actually, like a small PAXs in French. I created and managed a few events, consumer events about video games and comics and those kind of things. I did that for 5 or 6 years, and we were also having a communication agency, and we had a lot of indie studio coming to us, telling me, "Hey Guillaume, I don't have any money. Can you still help me with my communication?" And so we started to work for RevShare. And at some point we say, okay, so we are a marketing company for RevShare. That sounds like a publisher job. So I started officially a small label called the Sidekicks in France. We signed a couple of very small indie games. We got bought by Plugin Digital that was looking
Hmm.
to create also a publishing branch, Plugin Digital being a distribution company only at the time.
Okay.
So we joined forces with Plugin Digital, and we started what became Dear Villagers 3 years ago. So 5 years ago we started the publishing activities for Plugin Digital, and now at the end of the journey so far, I'm managing two labels at Plugin Digital. We have Dear Villagers, which is our premium label. I don't like to call it premium because that would may mean that the other one is not good, but
Yep.
it's our AA, triple in the profile
Gotcha.
that we have. We are trying to grow a nice publishing branch
Hmm.
and a popular brand with Dear Villagers. We have nice value. We want to make real that logo village that we have. So create a kind of small community where we have nice developer making cool games for cool people coming to play it. So we like to have this image and see ourselves as the village tenants or the village crafters and hosting the studios here. And for Dear Villagers, we are looking to grow as a medium-sized publisher, something like Curve Digital or Devolver. That's the kind of
Uh-huh.
reference we have. In France, we have Focus Entertainment, which is
Hmm.
also a good example for us of
Okay.
something we'd like to achieve and become. We have time, we are not in a hurry. And for Dear Villagers, we aim to release around 6 to maximum 8 games every year.
Hmm.
So that's already a nice amount of game, but you have to have in mind that we see something like 30 to 40 games every week. So people are sending games to us, we go to events, we look on the social network. So, on one side, we release six and we see six by year, 40 by week. So you have to imagine that at some point we got a bit tired to say no to so many studios. So we started another label, which is much more business oriented, to be honest, which is about providing flexible offer many kind of studio, but if a project doesn't fit GR Villagers, we always try to make it fit with PID games.
Hmm.
We do co-publishing. We have very nice indie gems coming from PID games. It was on the other side of the world. If you were at
Yes.
PAX, you
Hmm.
see we have games like Gravity Secret, which is a very nice Mega Man style game.
Hmm.
We had a Medic, which is
Medic.
a
Yep.
very unusual first personal not shooting games because you are playing as a medic. You heal people during World War II, but you never kill. And that's actually something that was a bit frustrating for us at PAX because people they came to play medic and decide, oh, when do I kill people? And said, no, you are the medic. You just heal them. That's a
Yep.
part of the loop. So we saw that maybe some audience were not ready for that game. So we will have to make sure that the marketing and the communication is clear.
Mm.
Because if people come to play medic to kill people, well, they are not in the good game. So it's all about
Right.
healing and rescuing people. But yeah, but that's well, the kind of game we are very very proud of with the PID game. So now with those
Uh,
two labels, we are releasing around 20 games every year. So that's a lot. So we have a nice. Both teams are very
Very
uh,
active.
yeah,
Yeah.
very
No,
very active right now.
Medic did catch my eye, but it's because my day job, I'm a clinical pharmacist, so I am in the medical community and just my personal gaming tastes, I am not a first person shooter. I don't know, it's just not my thing. So when I read the premise, you're in World War II, but you play as the medic, different perspective, different challenges. I was like, oh, that's a game for me. It's different. But you're right. Like, I guess it's all about how you come across in messaging because there's gamers of all kinds, I'm sure. um, if I could backtrack just a little bit, since you kind of grew up playing video games and that's kind of been in your life, do you have your own personal favorite video games that you play or did play?
Sure. I'm a big Civilization fan. I have like 200,000 hours on Civilization 5 or something like that.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah,
impressive.
I spend way too much time on Civilization, or I used to. I try to stay away from that. I've been a MMORPG journalist for years, so I played like I don't want to brag, but at some point in early days of MMORPG, I guess I played all of them.
Mm,
I obviously spend a lot of time on World of Warcraft.
mhm,
Warcraft 3 being one of my favorite game of all time before that, so strategy too. I have also a small scene which is called Football Manager, which is a soccer management. So it's for some people it's not gaming, but it is to me. But yeah, I'm 45 years old, so obviously you can imagine that I grew up with Mario and all the classics that you have on Nintendo, which are F-Zero, those kind of game are really deep to my heart. And
mhm,
yeah, but yeah, as a grown up, I mostly play strategy
mm.
and those kind of games.
Very nice. Yeah, I actually saw the Super Mario Brothers movie yesterday. I took my son there, and oh, especially if you grew up with it, you're going to see a lot of Easter eggs in there. Uh, Another question I kind of have, just based off of where you came from in journalism with like the RPGs. As you know, video games I think are fantastic because it brings the whole world together. When you're at an event like PAX, I met people from like Indonesia, France, obviously Americas, Canada, um, but at the same time, and I'm not an expert in it, if you look at it in a marketing standpoint, certain regions tend to sell better with certain genres, like maybe, JRPGs obviously maybe a bit more like fans in Asia, Western, I don't know, Americas
And
just
France,
yeah.
France is a huge market for JRPG.
Yeah.
There is a lot of uh, Japan culture lovers in France. So JRPG are huge in France. I know Germany is known for being very into those simulation and
Uh-huh.
and and, and economics game and strategy games like Poland a bit too. But you're right, there is a but I think that's that's becoming less real. I think
Hmm.
maybe 10 years ago, you could really see, game suc- successful game on world market because it was feeling. But I think now,
Mm.
now a very good game is it's successful everywhere.
Yep.
You know, some average games they already are successful on particular market, but when a game is good, I think whether you are in Indonesia, Thailand, France, US, Canada, Mexico, I think players now they are sharing the same love for good games. You know,
Hmm.
and some games are becoming some classic. Hopefully, some of us will become some classics too at some point.
Yeah.
But we do not. When we sign a game, we never think, oh, that game will be good for the German market, for example. We are
I see.
always looking for, is it good for us? But maybe we are choosing games that are good for the French market because we are French.
Yes.
But we are not thinking the video game market like as a regional thing. We are really trying to achieve the best possible game with the belief that if it's good, it will be successful in as many countries as possible.
If you want to be a Patreon producer, head on over to Patreon, patreon.com/bossrushmedia, and find out which tier is right for you. Our Patreon producers at the $5 tier or higher for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, and Rebecca Jewell. Thank you for your continued support.
I like that approach because, over time we're breaking down the walls. And like I said, now it's more of a quality of a game, and hopefully people will be willing to experiment with other genres. So, moving on to, Dear Villagers, and we can, incorporate, was it PID games as well. But maybe start off with kind of for your position, what you do. What's a day in the life for you at your job?
Usually, it's a busy one. I'm lucky to be in that position, to be honest, because I'm well. 20 years ago, if I told myself, hey, so at some point you will be heading to video game publishing labels, it's kind of a dream position, you will, yeah. So I'm very glad to be on my position. My daily job is not as exciting, to be honest, as it sounds. It's mostly about managing issues,
Mm.
budget issue with game being late, making sure that my teams are achieving what our studios expect us to achieve as a publisher. So as a top manager, my duties are to fix everything which need to be fixed at some point. The good part of my position, though, is that I get to be the head of the sourcing team.
Mhm.
So I'm on the first line in choosing the new games for our labels. And to be honest, that's the most exciting part of my job right now because I get to see games from everywhere, very different kinds, and it's a pressure, but I get to choose with the team at the end. Okay, that will be the game we'll be betting on for the next years. So we are making choices. Uh, for some time, we know that a choice can be life changing for a studio because
Mm.
if you are a small indie developer, whatever, but we are working with studio from Indonesia right now, from Thailand. We are working with studio in Cuba. So we know that when we decide to fund one of those games, it's life changing for the studio. So we have this kind of it's a exciting responsibility. We cannot sign everything. Some games are good, unfortunately, some projects are not so good, so we have to say no because at the end of the day, we are a company. We are here
Yep.
to be profitable and make money. But I have the luck to be free to make all kind of choices, and we try to always save some time and money to support some games from unusual market
Mm.
and I like that. And that's a part of my job. And okay, that we choose game because we know it's will be successful, but sometimes we also choose game because we know the team deserve to be chosen in a way. You see what I mean?
Yep.
And hopefully it will be successful too, because the studio will need that. But
Right.
yeah, I really like that explorer part of my job, and talent scout. That's what we are.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate what you said, the latter part about the studios that are deserving to get that chance. I think, and I could be wrong, but as a publisher, it's almost like accepting a challenge to make sure that they are as very successful, which makes me think of, and correct me if I'm wrong, how Dear Villagers was more of a rebranding or recent rebranding of the company or
Well, we change our visual identity.
the
We
visual
just
identity. Okay.
yeah, just before PAX we unveiled a new logo, and we had not so much as a rebranding than a straightening our brand.
I see.
We so new logo. We have a new well, we finally decide ourselves to display nice text about our values, and trying to make much more effort to explain who we are as a publisher. When we created Dear Villagers 3 years ago, it was just like, to be honest, 5 people getting on board on a adventure we didn't know where we will be heading. And
Hmm.
now the team is more than 20 people. We felt it was time, to sit down. Okay,
Yep.
who are we right now? Let's put that on paper, and let's explain people who we are much better than we are. And our logo, well, we built a logo 3 years ago. I will not say quickly because it took time, but it was just that logo, and one of our partner designed a small sketch of a village that became our background,
Hmm.
and we say, okay, that sketch needs to be done properly now. So we had made a very nice key art with a full detailed village, explaining and showing. Our new key art is that small village. Well, if you know about France, you will recognize that it's set in south of France. There is those Mediterranean influence in the village, and your key art is about a village that is on the verge of having a big party. So you see the villagers preparing the party. That's exactly the invite we want to have to people. Come to our village, we'll party, we'll be fun, we'll have fun, we'll be happy together, and maybe that's very French. We like to live, drink, eat, and have fun. That we are. So that's the kind of thing we want to share with people.
Yeah, the images, because I'm on your site now. It is it's very pleasing to the eye, very aesthetically beautiful. I love the colors, and I do get the sense of, I'm in this, pastoral, south of France like village. But if I were to just say a word of how I feel when I see it, like I feel welcomed. I feel like I could be just as much a part of this community. Hopefully that's what you're going for, but I was very much drawn to it. Like I could see the booth when I was at PAX. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be demoing that game tomorrow. That's where they are. And I do feel that, especially with indie publishers and developers, it's important to kind of consolidate your sense of identity. Um, so it's a pleasure to learn about kind of, w- you know, what your thought process was behind creating that image.
Well, I'm very glad that you have that feeling, because that's exactly what we want to have. And the name Dear Villagers, which shows that because we thought of it as the start of kind of a letter, or some official in the village starting a lecture or something. And
Yep.
it's a welcome message. Okay, Dear Villagers, you are welcome to our village. There is something to continue after that, Dear Villagers. That's a story to be told.
Hmm.
There's a nice welcome message to be addressed to everyone. So the Dear Villagers part is just, the introduction to something
Right.
much
Yeah.
nicer.
I love it. And speaking of that, so now we're going into the portfolio of games. I know you briefly touched upon it about, Dear Villagers and PID, but if we just focus on Dear Villagers for now, I've noticed that some of the games have similarities to them, but at the same time, especially with Fort Solace coming out, they're also very different. So when choosing and selecting a developer and their game, do you necessarily feel like you want to stick to certain kinds of games, or are you looking for a diverse portfolio?
We do have some criteria, but it can be it opens still a very large range of games. So what we are looking in a game right now with Dear Villagers, we are looking for games that are memorable. So we are looking for games. We don't want to make just another shooter. We are not looking to make just another battle arena thing. So we want people to play our games and to say and to experience a nice and memorable adventure. And that can be done in many ways. That can be a platformer. That can be an open world and RPG. That can be that builder that we are making, Fabeldom.
Yes.
That's a city builder, very cute. But there is a story behind. So most of our games, I would say, they are not they are not narrative game, but they are all at some point story driven because we
Mm,
want people to experience and to think and to make memories in our games and say, okay, I just experienced a very nice game. So that's one of the key parts we are looking in the game. And as you can imagine, it can be a small, medium, big game. Doesn't matter the size as long as it's meaningful.
mhm,
The second thing we are looking for as a publisher is maybe less meaningful because we are looking for games that have an attractive art direction. Because we believe right now the market is very hard for all games. You want your game to stand out visually because there is so much competition. So we are looking to make sure we are trying to make sure that all the game we sign, they have their own visual identity. So I'm not talking. We don't decide what's nice and what's not. We just want in each in their state. You are doing a pixel art game, fine, but please do the best possible pixel art. You are doing a 2D side scroller game, fine, but make it as beautiful as possible. So we are trying to do that because I also like to compare. Sadly, if you go to Steam right now, or when people go to Steam, I'd like to compare it to Tinder. There is so many games, you're just swapping to
yep.
one game to another. So the first eye contact is very, very important. Sadly, just as Tinder. But that's why we are
Mhm.
trying to have nice looking game because that's a nice looking game that sells. So that's why I was saying it will be less meaningful, but it's still important. And let's be honest, it's pleasing to play nice looking games. So
Of
so
course.
it's a yeah. And the last thing we have as a rule, let's say for Java Villagers, is where we are mostly providing single player experiences right now
Mhm,
because we feel with what we try to achieve in kind of emotions and story driven experiences, well, it's easier to do that as a single player game than in multiplayer. And it's hard to have, a coach game that tells something. It can be very fun and very memorable, but we want our games to tell something.
mhm,
So we are not against multiplayer. Some of our games have multiplayer on top of their single player
uh-huh.
experience, but we do want our games to have very strong single player content because we believe that's easier to tell something to the player.
Mhm. No, I tend to agree. I think that's why I gravitate more towards single player because I tend to purchase and play games that are story driven or story heavy. But it's funny that you kind of compare going on Steam to Tinder because that's a really hate to say it a good analogy because as an adult, especially an adult with a kid, I don't have all the time in the world, all the money in the world to play everything. And for example, there has been a comeback of all these retro pixel games, which I'm sure are many of them are good. But if they all kind of look similar, it's going to be hard for someone like me to say this is the one I'm going to pick, which is In addition to the fact that you're announcing a new IP, but that's what caught my eye as far as the new game passing by, because it's got that low poly art style, but it's still something that I haven't really seen in a while. I'm like, oh wait, hold on, I need to stop and play this.
Yeah, exactly. I had a personal crush, an instant crush on the art style of Passing By. We found them on Strange where they were part of a very small showcase before Gamescom last year. And actually, it was a first project from a very small studio. They were not looking for any publisher at the time, but we went to meet them and say, okay, we want to work with you guys because your art is so nice.
Mhm.
And the game was good too. And it's also a very unusual survival platformer game. You don't
Yep.
expect that game to be that way, but it works. And it's very, very nice. It's like a light survival, light platformer. The whole package is very wholesome, very nice looking. So that's also the kind of game I like right now. Games that can offer me as a player, games I can play just 1 hour once in a while,
Mhm.
because I'm like you, I have kids and I don't have 3 hours or 5 hours by day. So we are trying to have games that are both can be played on small amount of time. But if you are an hardcore player and you do have time and do have a wish to play a lot more, our games can satisfy you too. So that's the kind of thing we are trying to look for. So make sure that I would say as a casual player, you have fun, but you are also having fun as a more hardcore one. And that's actually the most difficult part in choosing game because satisfying both is the hardest part of our work right now.
Oh, I'm sure, and I give publishers and developers a lot of credit. I know maybe some of the larger companies have it more about maybe hearing either complaints or certain gamers are they love this, but others don't like this. I don't know how you can kind of make decisions based of all the feedback. I don't know how your fan base has been so far and their receptions to your existing games.
Well, we are growing a fan base right now. I will not brag as a big, huge publisher with a fan base. We are working hard. We do have fans. But we are still a medium and growing publisher. So actually, right now, when we release a game, we don't have the risk to have angry fans knocking on my door because I hope someday it will happen, but not yet. It will be a good problem if I have this huge angry fan base at some point. But right now, I would say we have tens of thousands. It's a small amount compared to other publisher of people following us on different network and but growing. And we want obviously to have more and more coming. But I'm confident on one thing. It's our job. If we release a good game, people will come to us and come
Mhm.
to our village. So it's our duty, to seduce and gather people by providing them with amazing experiences.
Love it. I love it. So, I know this next question is very loaded. Like we could probably spend hours on it, but could you give, because I'm sure our listeners would be so curious, the general high level cycle of how game publishing works? So I know you mentioned maybe the beginning half where either you get pitched ideas from developers or you'll go to a conference or an expo. But from there, making the decision that you want to partner with a developer, just what are the high level like steps from partnership to completion to launch?
Well, when we meet a game, we have this first discovery. So actually, in the company, there are three of us, like actively trying to find games. But everyone in the company is free to suggest findings, they have.
Hmm.
So we have a huge network of people that are suggesting game to us. That's why we see so much.
Hmm.
We have a first gut feeling round that we have three people in the sourcing team. When it can sound shallow, but that's where we filter the not so good looking games. Or we have also people with a lot of experience in video game. And we can tell from an early demo if the game will be good or not. So we have a big filter,
Uh-huh.
and so I would say out of the 30 to 40 games we see each week, maybe we keep 3 or 5 that are going to the next round,
Mhm.
and the next one being analysis with my colleague. One of my colleague is also a past journalist. Is a real video game encyclopedia. Is very good at evaluating game design. So William is evaluating the gameplay.
Okay.
Is trying to push the boundaries of the game, of the demo we have. Is trying to make forecasts of what are the similar games on the market? Is that game time to market? Yeah,
I
he's
see.
working on that. Yeah, so he's our game guy, and the other guy in the company is Matthew, and Matthew is much more data driven. So he will rather look at the numbers. Okay,
Mhm.
the other game is that in that kind, they sell well or not so well, or if we compare to that game, we can expect that game to achieve that. So you see, I have this game feel art oriented guy. I have this business guy,
Mm.
and the all three together we make decisions. So are we going to the next step? The next step being discussing with the studio about what they are looking for with the publisher. We want to make sure that the studio fits with us. We have some personalities too inside the company. We want to make sure that it fits. I always tell that signing with a publisher is like entering a relationship. We'll be working together for 3, 5, 6 years. Because that's the bond we have. Maybe the game will take 2 years to make, but we will be supporting the game for 3, 4, 5 years after release as a publisher. So it's a significant on time we will live together. And while producing the game, it's not an easy journey. So we will probably meet troubles at some point. So what we evaluate is, are we confident that if we have some trouble, it will be easy to solve with the team we have right in front of us. And I keep making the exact same joke for the past 5 years. I was the head of publishing. Every time one of my sourcing guy come back from a meeting, I always ask the question, would you go out at night and have beer with this guy? And we need the answer to be yes, because we had some opportunities in the past with a great game, very interesting, matching our criteria, but we didn't have any good feelings with the people making the game. And the question, would you spend some time at night, or would you go for a beer or dinner or lunch with those people? Sometimes you just say, no, I
Maybe
don't want to
not.
spend, yeah, maybe not. And if the answer is maybe not, well, we don't sign the game. And I can tell you, it's not just word. We actually denied a couple of very good games just because we didn't have any fit with the people making them. So it's just not about business. Entering a publishing relation, it's really a long time relation,
Mm.
and you will have good times, you will have bad times. Your game will most probably be late. How will you manage that? We try to be nice with our developers, but we also need to release our games at some point. So
Yep.
we need to evaluate. We try to be nice to our developers, and we like to be nice to nice people. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So we have this human filter, and once the game is okay, he wants to work with us. We are fine with the team. We are okay on the budget. Well, we got on board. We have marketing teams that will prepare the launch. We have production teams that will help the studio achieve the game. It's a long process. On Dear Villagers, the average development time is around 2 years
2 years.
for our
Okay.
games. Yeah. Some are a bit less or more, but I would say in average time, between the moment we sign the game and the moment it gets released, it will at least go for 2 years.
Mm.
So it's 2 years of hard work for the studio.
Yeah.
It's 2 years of passion for us most of the time, to be honest. But it's also hard work for my teams. And after 2 years, we will have this game coming out. It will always be, what we always tell, if a game is successful, it will be because the studio is so talented. If the game fails, it's because the publisher was wrong. You see what I mean? That's how the industry works.
Okay.
So we want our game to be successful because otherwise it will most probably be our fault at some point.
Oh, that's a interesting way to look at game success versus a quote unquote failed launch. Um, it's very
Yeah,
refreshing to hear that. I
I-
know
I'm not
have
I'm not telling that what I think. I'm telling that what people say
what people
on the
say. Yes, sorry. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's no pressure. um, but I do love the humanity side of Dear Villagers because I do feel that a very well done game can come out and do okay, but developer and publisher they have to work well together, and um, yeah, I feel like that will make a big difference. So I kind of like that that screening process of can you have a beer with that guy or girl or whoever. So what actually? How would you prepare for a successful launch of a game? Like launch time. Okay, so
Yeah. I wish we had a secret recipe for success.
well, if you did, maybe
uh,
you wouldn't want to share it. I don't know.
yeah, so we have one with I won't tell you right now. No, it's a long work, and I think the key is to have custom campaign for each game. If
Hmm.
you try to reproduce the same theme to all games and trying to do the same thing, contacting the same content creator because it worked last time with another game, that doesn't work like that. So I think the tricky part for us right now, considering we do not have these millions followers waiting for our game, we have to go and get every single buyer of our game. So we have to be smart. We have to be smart because we don't have extensive marketing budget. We have a
Hmm.
fair amount of money, to be honest, but we don't spend crazy money either. So we have to make sure for each of our game we have a tailor-made plan made. So you can imagine we don't sell for Solis the same way we sell Passing By. It's not the same game, it's not the same audience. So we have to be careful to pick the right solution for each game. So that's what leads, sometimes we are good, sometimes we fail or we make mistakes. We try also to have our studio partner involved in the road to market because we believe that marketing wise a good idea can come from everyone. I'm never telling our studio shut up, I will do the marketing and you do the game. It's that in that way too, we kind of collaborate.
Hmm.
So sometimes the studios they have a great idea, say, okay, we should contact this or we should do that trailer or should do that TikTok thing that we thought about. So there is no one single way to be successful. There is a dedication to and in the end, it's all about the game. I consider my job as a publisher. I'm a chance multiplier. So if there is so many games on the market right now, games that are crazy successful, there's a part of chance out of that.
Mm.
So I'm not saying that it's all about chances, but being extra successful is mostly because you are at the right time, at the right moment, with the right game. And maybe that guy will have millions of followers on Twitch. You don't know why, but he decided to push you. And
Uh-huh.
so my I always tell my studio that my job as a publisher is to make sure we have as many chances as possible when the game is released.
Hmm.
So I will help you make the best possible game because that's something that is required. If you want to be successful, you have to have a good game. I will help you to make sure that game is seen by as many people as possible because each single people that will see the game is a new chance to be successful. So at the end, I will try to do my best to achieve as many chances as possible, but I never guarantee anyone that the game will be successful because maybe I will pile thousands of chances, but we will not be lucky.
Right.
You see,
Gotcha.
so
Yep.
I can be successful in my campaign, but the game is not selling millions. It's just breaking even, which is already nice for everyone.
Yeah.
So the studio is, I'm not losing money. The studio is making a bit of money, and we can go together make a new game and the next game. And my job
Right.
is to make games after games after games. So at some point, one is very successful, and it's paying for the ones that are not so much.
No, yeah. Pardon the cheesy pun, but it does take a village to be
Ex-
successful.
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
sorry, that's a it's like a dad
No,
joke,
no.
but
That's part of our values right now. It takes a village.
yeah.
That's part of our expression. Yeah,
And
that
you're
makes sense for it. Yeah.
and I think it's great that, like you said, providing as many chances or opportunities, none of is guaranteed, but it's almost a statistical game. The more opportunities, the more chances you provide, you, eventually, hopefully, you might hit that really one crucial influencer or review or something. So, you know,
But in the end, it's all about the game. It,
mm,
I can be successful only if the game is good or mostly good. You see what I mean?
mhm,
When unfortunately, sometimes we fail with some of our studio. In the past, we had a couple of games that was not that good, and sadly, even if we are very close to the studio and the guys are cool, if the game is not good, we can spend as much money as we want in marketing. It will
mm,
not just succeed. So, or at least we are not one of those very big worldwide publishers that can enforce bad games to everyone.
yeah,
We don't do that. We don't have that leverage, but yeah,
no.
we need good games, and part of my job is to help the studio making good games.
I love it. And I love that message. I wish those larger studios would take a lesson from your book from that, but oh well. I just want to say again, Guillaume, thank you so, so very much for taking the
You are
time to
welcome.
speak with me. It was a pleasure to getting to know you. I loved speaking with Stephanie, not just because we share the same name. She's wonderful. And I've been to your website several times. Everyone who's listening, again, it's Dear Villagers, dearvillagers.com. They partner with PID Games. Check them out. They have a wide range. Like I said, Fort Solace's, I believe it's still Q3 2023, correct? Um,
Yes.
with
I'm,
motion. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, no, I was about to tell you a lot more than I should. So yeah,
Oh,
Q3.
no, you want any secrets?
No, no,
Any
no,
surprises?
no, we're fine. We're fine.
Okay, well, no, just motion capture by Roger Clark and Troy Baker. Another name is escaping me, but just we got some really great people on Fort Solace, and also the game Passing By, completely different type of game, but it's something else. I don't think that there's a release date for that one yet, though, right? Or yes,
No, and about Fossilist, you are missing Julia Brown, which is a
Julia.
wonderful,
Yes,
wonderful lady and very nice
yes,
actor. Yeah.
yes. Thank you very much. I was like, oh, it's at the tip of my tongue, and her and Roger Clark, and then the director, right, of the
Yeah,
game at Fallen Leaf, and they were at the panel at
yeah, yeah,
PAX. Yes.
James, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
Perfect.
Very nice one, very nice one. And coming, yeah, Q3, late Q3 this year.
But
And,
so
and so, yeah, and Passing By also coming late summer. We will have a very, very exciting summer.
perfect.
Uh,
Anything else that you might want to share with the Boss Rush community?
Yeah, I'm just about to say too much, and Stephanie will be mad at me. So I'm not.
Okay, all right. I'll keep you out of trouble. But
Stay tuned all summer. Java Villagers and PID Games will have great game coming.
yeah, and I know I certainly will be keeping tabs on you guys. I'm not just saying it because I'm talking with you right now, but I was greatly impressed by not just your booth at PAX, but the games, but also the people that were there to talk to me about your games. So I feel like you're the type of company that I want to follow, and I am looking forward to seeing what you guys have in the pipeline. So I hope we can continue speaking, have a good relationship. And again, just thank you so much for your time.
Well, you are welcome anytime if you come to France. We are in south of France in Montpellier. Feel free
I'd
to
love
let
to.
me know at some point if you come.
I'm a big
We have
foodie. I love anything to do with delicious food, and I know France is the place to go.
you don't see my size here, but I'm a big foodie myself too.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening to 1v1. You can check out all of our family of podcasts on bossrush.net. Thank you and take care.
1v1, the Creator Interview Series, is a product of Boss Rush Media, LLC, and part of the Boss Rush Podcast Supplemental Podcast. This show is hosted by Celeste Roberts. You can also hear interviews from other Boss Rush Media members on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at FairyCrypt. To get updates on the latest episodes, follow the Boss Rush Podcast, Boss Rush Media, and Boss Rush Network on all major social media platforms, or subscribe to the Boss Rush podcast feed in your favorite podcast application. Join the Boss Rush Network Discord and Facebook groups to interact with other friends and fans. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.